to their screams. Greetings, ghouls and creeps, and welcome to Listen to Their Screams, a horror podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dave. I'm joined as always by Ike. Ike, how are you?
Not too shabby. Not too shabby. I think I would even say I'm doing pretty good today. I'm kind of hungry, but otherwise I'm doing good.
Yeah, me too. I kind of stay in a perpetual state of hunger, though. Especially, I'm in this trying to watch what I eat and eat a little better and all that good stuff. And I'm like, my body is still just like fighting. So it's
Right.
like I've not adjusted, but that's all right because I'm determined. I'm persistent. I'm stubborn. I will conquer. Anyway, hopefully I don't get a little hangry on the podcast here today, but we'll see. No, I'm good. Anyway, here we go. Thank you for listening to us, and wherever you are, make sure you subscribe to us, as well as going out there and following us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok, and Slasher. All you gotta do is look up Listen to Screams. That is Listen, the number 2, and Screams. You can also go to our t-shirt store. We have a t-shirt store on TeePublic. You can visit that by going to tinyurl.com Screams Shirts. That is Screams plural, shirts, all one word. Special thank you to our wives, Monica and Kayla, for their support, their research, their going to the movies with us, all kinds of stuff, for just being there for us. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing Evil Dead Rise, the newest installment in the Evil Dead franchise that just came out in theaters. Before we get there, we'll tell you that that movie, as well as any others we discuss, we will have spoilers in the course of our discussions. So, Ike, besides Evil Dead Rise, did you watch anything else this past week?
Yeah. Actually, I watched a couple of things. So first and foremost, I'm still watching. Every week, I watch the new episode of Yellow Jackets. This week actually we have no episode on Friday, so I'm kind of depressed about that. But otherwise, I don't know. I think last week I talked about it, but I finished that show, The Sinner. I'm still kind of reeling from that one just because it was so good. And then we recently I did a rewatch of the first Conjuring movie. I'm probably going to be watching the rest of them. I just really like the Conjuring movies. It's so good. Let's see. I did obviously. Speaking of Evil Dead, me and my wife had never seen any of the Evil Dead movies. So I had to go in and we watched all three of the original. She had seen the remake before, but we rewatched the 2013 Fede Alvarez remake. And then we started the Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Yeah, that's right. What'd you think of the 3 original movies?
She liked the first one. To preface this, my wife is she's like about 2 years younger than I am. So we're about the same age. So it's not like a huge age gap or anything. So being in the same generation as one another, like she really doesn't like movies made before the 90s. So when I told her that
that's a shame.
That's what I said. I was like, some of my favorite movies are from the 80s and the 70s even. But so we sat down and we watched the first one. She thought the first one was okay. We watched the second one and she thought the second was kind of stupid because it was like basically it's rehashing the events of the first one and then like a whole nother story. She liked Army of Darkness. Yeah. Well, hey, Army of Darkness is my favorite, I would say, out of the 3 original. I love Army of Darkness.
Too much for me.
I love it, man. And she obviously liked the Fede Alvarez one. I think she said that was like her favorite, but then she thought the Evil Dead Rise is her most favorite out of all of them. Which, I don't blame her. It was good. But, yeah, so she didn't really care that much for the old ones.
I do. The series is good, though. Ash vs. Evil Dead, it's really good.
Yeah, she liked it. I think she was a little Evil Deaded out, so we only got a couple episodes in because we're watching the same thing for hours. Let's see. I think that's pretty much all that I watched because definitely we wanted to watch the Evil Dead movies in anticipation for the new movie. Obviously, you got to binge those movies.
Yeah. I watched those before going to. I only watched a couple of things. I did rewatch Scream 6. We'll talk about that a little bit later as to why it's out there now. But I did rewatch that. I just thought I still got the same reaction to it. It's just I thought it was okay, and then it just kind of fell flat for me there towards the end. It's just I stand by our review that we gave. So if if anyone wants to hear that, go back and look at that in the archives. And then I don't know why, just on a whim, I watched from 1981. I watched Happy Birthday to Me. Actually, it's not a whim. I was literally sitting here, and my wife Monica came through, and I said, give me a slasher from the 80s. She goes, Happy Birthday to Me. I said, okay. that's essentially that was it. So I watched it. It's not bad. It's a little funny to me to see one of the girls from Little House on the Prairie in a horror movie. It's just seems weird to me, but it is what it is. Otherwise, that's about all I watched. I'm actually not horror related. I'm in a rewatch of in the midst of a rewatch of the Indiana Jones movies. I just got a whim. I haven't seen those in a while, so I've been watching those. So non horror related, but they're still very good movies.
Slightly off topic. What are your thoughts on the one that's about to come out? The one that's what is it? The Dial of Destiny?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I think they'll do it right. I think in this day and age, they've shown that they can walk the line properly, right, with that aging. And I think the thing is, the elderly Indiana Jones will play a part. They're not going to try to make him, like he's younger or anything. I think he's going to play his age.
Yeah.
And my gut says I think and this is no spoiler because I haven't heard anything, but my gut says I think Indy's dying in this one. I think this is going to put a close on it. I don't know if they're going to pass the baton on to anybody else, try to keep some Indiana Jones going. But I mean, Harrison Ford he has publicly stated this is it. It's the last time he will portray Indiana Jones. So
yeah.
And if him playing Han Solo is any consolation, or any indication, typically he's like, kill me. That's the way he is.
That's what I was gonna say, because I'm pretty sure he only agreed to do the what was it, Force Awakens, if they killed him.
Yeah.
So I mean, I thought it looked pretty good too. Obviously, it's not horror related, but I will say, I'm pretty sure it was Raiders of the Lost Ark is where like the guy's face gets melted, and that's pretty spooky if you ask me.
Yeah. That kind of freaked me as a kid. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, but I always loved Indiana Jones as a kid. It was one of my favorite franchises. But like I said, I hadn't watched them in a long time, so decided to dive in. And I'm 2 movies through it, so I got 2 more to go, including the one with Shia LaBeouf. That one's.
You don't like the Crystal Skulls?
That one's not the best, but I have to watch it. So. But here we go. Now that we've got through that, this week we're going to debut a new segment, a new game here on the show. Stump the Cohost. And this game is going to be called Stump the Cohost. And Ike, basically what this is trivia. That's all it is. It's horror trivia. We have ordered identical decks of horror trivia cards from online. We've shuffled them up. We've not looked at them. And basically, each time we play this game, we're pulling 2 cards, which is a total of 4 questions. We will alternate asking each other these questions. We will keep a tally, and we will either have a winner, loser, or we will draw. And then come the end of the year, when we do our 2023 year-end review episode, we'll do a grand tally and determine who the Listen to Their Screams 2023 Trivia Champion will be. So I think now you can just go ahead and take my order on how you want to engrave my trophy. So
yeah, is that right?
We'll see. Arrogance is not being played. So, Ike, do you have your 2 cards?
I have my 2 cards.
All right. I'm going to put you on the spot. You're getting the first question.
I'm ready.
Here we go. The debut question for Stump the Co-Host. What was the name of the killer and mortician in the movie Phantasm?
Oh, fuck. Immediately. Because I have seen Phantasm.
Me too, but it has been a while.
Yeah, I watched it for the very first time, and if I remember correctly, they don't name him in the movie. He's just like a mysterious figure. I don't think that he actually like his name is spoken aloud until like one of the later Phantasm movies. But I remember it's like it's not an actual name. It's like the Mandalorian. It's not like that, but like the Mandalorian, that's obviously not a person's name. It's like a title. You know what I mean? So, is it like it's not? No, it's not that. Oh my god! Immediately, the first question. That had to be the first question. The fucking Phantasm question. Jesus Christ! Oh man. Okay, so is it the Is it the Crypt Keeper? I don't know.
No, it is the Tall Man.
You know what? Now that you say that, that makes sense.
You were on the right lines there, but yep. So there you go. You've already missed one, so now's my chance. Let's see. So bring it. Let's see what happens. See if I can get as embarrassed.
Absolutely not. Which installment from the Halloween franchise did not feature Michael Myers?
Well, that would be Halloween Season of the Witch.
You are absolutely correct.
I love that movie too. Even despite it does not have. But technically, Michael Myers is in it because he appears on the TV during one scene. Remember, they're watching the original
True.
Halloween. But we're going
Fake
by
news.
the cards. All right, here is your second question. You'll get this one right. What post-apocalyptic horror TV series is based on the comic book series created by Robert Kirkman?
Pat, I'm gonna go with what is The Walking Dead?
That is correct. The Walking Dead. All right, so you tied it back up. We're at one apiece.
Okay, so this one's a 50-50. So I guess you might, maybe, I don't know if you quick thinking, I don't know. So which franchise has the most sequels? A Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween?
Well, wow. I will say Halloween.
And you would be correct.
All right. Does it give the numbers on there? No.
It doesn't give the numbers. It just says Halloween. But I kind of was leaning towards Halloween just because they have all those new movies that I guess would be considered sequels.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering though. That's what I was wondering when these cards are produced and how far it goes into it. Well, these are produced in 2022, so I'm assuming it would have up to
At least Halloween Kills, right?
Yeah, at least I would think so.
Sorry,
all right,
I'm
here
grabbing
we go.
some rubber bands here because I need to keep these cards separate because God knows I'll ask you the same questions.
Oh, no, don't do it then. That's all right.
You're like, just give me the same question. It's fine.
Here we go. Here is your third question. What is the name of the horror film magazine that debuted in 1979 and is returning to print in 2018?
It's Corey. I'm pretty sure Corey Taylor from Slipknot is bringing it back. I know it's not Fangoria because that one was always around.
Well, here's the deal. It is Fangoria, so I will give you that.
Really? I thought Fangoria was continuing to be produced.
No, they disappeared for a few years there.
Well, then is it
the one you're thinking of was famous sponsors of Filmland, that the Slipknot dude. But yes, it is returning as well. But yes, Fangoria did stop print for a few years there. It is back now, but you're correct. I'll give it to you. It's Fangoria.
All right, I'll take it. All right. Oh, okay. I don't know. You might get this one. I'm not sure. All right. So, set in the 1630s New England, what 2015 movie involves an English farmer and his family who relocates to a forest which lurks an unknown evil?
Son of a gun. These kind of movies are not my wheelhouse. 2015, huh?
Yep, 2015.
And it's set in I feel like I know this. I feel like I should know this. Damn it.
Yeah, I say it was a pretty. It was pretty popular. I think it had a pretty good critical reception, if I remember correctly.
Well, it sounds very familiar. I am sure I have seen it, but for some reason I'm shooting a complete and total blank on it. So go ahead, tell me, what is it?
It is The Witch.
The Witch, yeah. Damn it, I did see that. Uh-oh. So now we're down to the last question for each of us, and we are tied at 2 apiece.
That's right.
So here we go. Your last question. What body part was the creature after in the movie Jeepers Creepers?
It was his eyes, wasn't it?
It was his eyes, correct. Yeah. So there you go. You took the lead for 3. Now I got to see if I can tie you up and make this a draw.
I don't know. This one's pretty hard. Leatherface was a character in what horror film?
How about Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I am sorry, it's the Texas. No kidding.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding. I guess that means that we are tied at 3-3.
That's right. The first week, it is a draw. Hey, we got 3 out of 4 apiece. That's not bad.
75%.
I'll take it.
That's right.
That's double a Hall of Fame career right there. I'll take it. So there you have it. First edition of Stump the Co-Host. We stumped each other once and finished with the draw. Let's hope that it's just not a draw all year. We'll see. But that's the way it goes. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have news.
Remember, in the course of discussing movies, the host will spoil plots. You've been warned.
And we're back with some news and some upcoming spookies. So we have, first and foremost, we have Funko Games announced they will be releasing a tabletop card game based on the Scream franchise. It is expected to release sometime mid-2023. It will be a retail for $19.99. Obviously, I love tabletop card games, and if it's horror themed, I am 1,000% on board.
Yeah, me too. Sounds fun. I mean, I know some of these games like this are a little weird in their gameplay and their rules, but man, it's Scream. It'll be fun. I'm gonna give it a try.
Absolutely. And on the same thought process there, Scream 6 is also now available on video on demand and on Paramount Plus. The movie will be released on physical media on July 11th, and be sure to look for through our archives for our Scream franchise episode and our Scream 6 review episode. Obviously, we mentioned those a little bit earlier. But yeah, absolutely. And I know, Dave, you said you went ahead and already watched it on video on demand.
I did when it came out. I thought, you know what? I'll give it another shot. I mean, here's the thing. I didn't hate the movie. I was just slightly disappointed, especially, like we said, the last third of the movie or so, or whatever you want to call quarter of the movie. But it's not one of those that when I do a rewatch, I'm gonna dread because it had moments. So, but yeah, I thought, hell, I'm gonna watch it again. And like I said, I stand by a review. But
can't beat it. Well, on a slightly different note, we also have the Pope's Exorcist that released at the same time as the Mario movie, actually,
and Renfield.
And it grossed over $52 million at the box office, and it looks like a sequel is in early development. No details are available, but Russell Crowe is expected to return. And weirdly enough, we're actually going to be reviewing this movie next week on our next episode. So keep an eye for that. Yeah. But I'm pretty excited for it.
Excited. Yeah, me too.
I like Exorcist movies. I think that kind of genre is very nice and very spooky. So I'm pretty pumped for that.
Yeah, me too.
Speaking of ghosties, we have the new Ghostbusters movie, which will premiere on December 20th, 2023. This is going to star Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, and McKenna Grace. I believe all of them are returning from the last movie. But William Atherton has been spotted on set of the filming of the movie, which means his character, Walter Peck, may be returning to the franchise. Rumors have also arisen that the original cast members from the 1984 movie will again be making appearances. I really liked Ghostbusters Afterlife. It was really awesome, so I'll definitely be excited to watch this one.
Yeah, I know Winston is supposedly going to play a much bigger role in this movie, a different kind of role. But I think Ernie Hudson let it slip in an interview that kind of alleged that the other living Ghostbusters actors will be in this movie as well. Just in probably, I don't think in major roles, but they'll be in it. But yeah, it's pretty excited that Walter Peck. It looks like he's going to be back in it from the original. He was the environmental guy from the very first movie that was trying to shut them down. And but yeah, he's been spotted on set, so that's pretty exciting.
Very cool. We also have some more news. Speaking of The Conjuring, actually, the fourth Conjuring movie has an official title that will be The Conjuring: Last Rites. There aren't really any details or release dates available. I've seen release dates as early as like late summer of this year. But if I had to guess, it's probably going to be an October release date just because of how they have released them in the past.
Yeah, probably.
Just spooky month, obviously. Got to have spooky movies. But Warner Brothers has also confirmed that Beetlejuice 2 is forthcoming. This has obviously been speculated for, I would probably say, years. But it is rumored that Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder will return for the sequel, and that Jenna Ortega will be joining the cast. I swear, Jenna Ortega is in literally everything.
Yes.
I will say I think that she's kind of like developing like that Jamie Lee Curtis vibe in the modern day because she's in
Yeah.
all these horror movies and stuff, which is great. I think she's a great actress, so I'm really glad to see that she's getting more work. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think she'll fit into Beetlejuice too because she gives me very Winona Ryder in the original vibes. So I think she's
Yeah.
going to. I think the intent is she's going to play the Winona Ryder character's daughter, is the rumor, and it makes perfect sense to me. It fits.
Absolutely. That sounds good to me. All right. And then lastly, Warner Brothers has also announced that they are developing a Final Destination 6. You heard that right. The movie that made you afraid to drive behind logger trucks is making another movie.
Still to this day, every time I see one on the road, I'm like, "Yep, I'm going to the other lane." Will not do that. This is no way, no how. Hey, one thing though, it's not on here that I forgot to bring up that we did talk that we're going to do Pope's Exorcist next week. The original intent when we were planning things, we were going to do Salem's Lot
Oh,
because
yeah.
Salem's Lot originally had an April 21st release date, and it's just gone now. It's originally it was supposed to be September of last year, then it kind of got shuffled, and then it was April 21st, and now it's just not on there. No one knows what's going on with Salem's Lot. There's no news. There's no rumors. There's nothing out there. Everybody's like, hey, what's going on with this movie? They showed a trailer last year at some conventions and some whatever you call it, where they show off expos and different things, and now there's nothing. So I mean, the latest I've heard is that perhaps they're pushing it to the fall, and that it might just be a streaming release for kind of a fall streaming, around the spooky season, instead of now theater. Who knows? But man, hopefully they don't just scrap it and table it and a la the Batgirl and just put it in the can and don't do anything with it, because man, I'm super psyched to see the Salem's Lot remake as a movie. So
Yeah, I was gonna say because I remember you told me that, and it's just like I don't know, I don't know like what it is with like COVID, but I feel like since COVID, like there have been so many movies that this has happened to, where they either enter like a perpetual development stage where like they just get stuck in this developmental hell, or they get tabled and tabled and tabled and then just disappear. Because there are lots of movies that happen to. I think I don't know, it's just crazy. Ever since COVID happened, 2020, I feel like it's been happening in an exorbitant amount rate. So, yeah,
yeah,
I've never seen Salem's Lot though.
yeah, it's really good. It was originally a miniseries based on a Stephen King book,
Mhm.
but it's I don't know. Maybe the production company, the whatever, maybe they just thought, hey, we don't want to go head to head with Winfield. We don't want to go head to head while Mario Brothers is rolling over everything and everything else. Maybe they just felt, oh, we need to find maybe, for lack of a better term, a weaker release date, with less
Yeah.
competition. So they're just kind of backed it off. Going to look at the calendar. I mean, to me, I think if you have a movie like that where it's not a huge release, but it can, it can overperform from what you expect. It makes more sense to have a fall release for a movie like that to
Yeah.
me. So maybe that's the plan. Maybe they're just going to hang on to it, and whether it be streaming or whether it be theater or whatever, it just hang on to it to the fall, when it kind of fits the season a little better, and they can hope to pull in a few extra dollars based on the Halloween season.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Can't fault them for wanting to make a little bit of money. But in any news, or in any case, I should say, keep an eye out for all those releases. And we're going to move into some birthdays and upcoming anniversaries. We do have a few birthdays, actually quite a few. May 2nd, 1965, we have R.A. Lehman, who is the young Jason Voorhees in the original Friday the 13th. We also have on April 29th, 1972, Derek Mears, who is Jason Voorhees in the 2009 Friday the 13th remake. April 27th, 1973, we have Andre Gower, who played Sean in the Monster Squad. And then
Yeah, you ever watched Monster Squad?
I don't think so. Is that like an animated?
No, it's not. It's from the 80s. It's a must. It is a must. It is such a good movie. It's such an 80s movie, but it's got your classic Universal monsters in it. There's Dracula and Frankenstein's monster and Wolfman and the creature. They've tweaked the designs obviously because they couldn't use the copyrighted designs, but it's very good. It's very, very good, very fun. I love this movie. Have you never heard the line "Wolfman's got nards"?
No.
Well, there's a part where they kick the Wolfman in the balls, and the one kid's like, "Wolfman's got nards." It's funny.
I've
But
never
yes,
seen
you have
that.
to you have to watch it. It's just a great movie to watch in the fall, especially. around the Halloween time. But it's good enough to watch anytime. It's fun.
I'll have to check that out sometime. But I've never seen that. I'll have to give that a cursory review. And then lastly, we also have on April 29th, 1981, we have Alex Vincent, who is best known as Andy Barclay in the Child's Play 2, Child's Play 2, blah, 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 blah. You know, all those movies. He's been in all of them. He's the original Andy Barclay, not the Child's Play 3 Andy Barclay. And then we also have a couple of upcoming movie anniversaries, just in case you want to do a rewatch of some of these. We have May 2nd from 1957, The Curse of Frankenstein. Obviously, I'm sure one of Dave's favorites. Mm-hmm. We also have April 20th, 1964, Mothra versus Godzilla.
Another of Dave's favorites.
Oh, can't beat that. Do you like the old ones, like the old Japanese ones, or like the American ones? Yeah.
No, love the old Godzilla movies. But I grew up on those. I mean, they were on, they were on TV on the, as the monster movies and the Saturday nights, and the horror host showed, Godzilla were in those rotations and stuff. So they were all over the place. Yeah, love them.
Love Godzilla. We also have on May 1st, 1981, Friday the 13th Part 2. Obviously, Friday the 13th Part 2 is the superior of the first and second movies. We have May 3rd, 1996, The Craft. That's a good one. The Craft is it's interesting because it has all these like actors from that time, what's her name? Sidney Prescott's actress. I always forget her name.
Neve Campbell.
Yeah, Neve Campbell. I'm pretty sure it had the girl from Fairuza Balk, who is from Waterboy, as well as Skeet Ulrich and a bunch of other people. It's a really interesting movie. I actually recently watched it for the first time like a couple years ago because I had never seen it before. Fun fact. So April 28th, 2000, we have Scream 3, which is often the lower of the rated Scream movies. If you're curious where that landed in our rotation, check out our Scream episode. And lastly, April 30th, 2010, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. One of my favorites, absolutely.
Well, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Not really any upcoming releases coming up. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, May's kind of a dry month. There's just not a lot, theatrically or anything else. Now, the streaming services typically release their schedules and stuff the first of the month. So hopefully, we'll get some gems there. Theatrically and stuff, they're just, May's kind of quiet right now. So we'll see what happens.
Yep, absolutely. And then hopefully, in June it'll pick back up. But yeah, so I think that covers everything for news. As always, make sure you check out those movie anniversaries. It's always a good time to do those rewatches. But coming up, we do have our review of Evil Dead Rise.
Listen to Their Screams is now a Fangoria collaborator. Get 20% off your order at shop.fangoria.com by using the promo code LISTEN2SCREAMS at checkout. That is listen, the number 2, and screams. Or you can click the link in the show notes.
All right, and welcome back to Listen to Their Screams. It's review time, and we are talking about Evil Dead Rise, the new release that is out in theaters now. It was released on April 21st, 2023 in theaters. It is written and directed by Lee Cronin and is starring Lily Sullivan, Elisa Sutherland, Morgan Davies, Gabriel Eccles, and Nell Fisher. Bruce Campbell does have a voice cameo in this film. And it's on one of the recordings they play. He is the one saying it's called The Book of the Dead for a reason. And Lee Cronin has stated publicly that in his mind, that is definitely Ash Williams. That is just he's lost in time in his thing. So it's pretty cool that Campbell has that little cameo in there, at least a voice cameo. Thus far on its opening weekend, the movie grossed $23.5 million box office on its opening weekend, which exceeded its expectations. This garnered the movie the number 2 slot for the weekend, still behind Mario Brothers, who is, and deservedly so. Mario Brothers is just rolling, and still up there at number 1, which is to be no surprise. But this movie was originally planned to release straight to streaming, but it performed so strongly at test screenings that it was moved to a theatrical release. And I'm looking like the right move, because I believe, if I read right, the budget for this movie was like $19 million. So it's already getting ready to start turning profits even after the first weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
it has been said that there will likely be future Evil Dead movies, but now that they will probably be every 2 to 3 years, not like 10 years apart like they have been so far. This is a promising sign, and they're excited to really expand the franchise into the future. Director Lee Cronin has stated that 1,720 gallons of fake blood were used in this movie. I wonder how many of those were just in the damn elevator scene. That was pretty wild. I mean, there was a lot of blood, especially the last part of the movie. It's like it really picked up the last. We'll talk about that here in a minute. The pizza place in the movie where the kids go and pick up the pizzas, it was called Henrietta's, and that is a reference to Henrietta Noby, who is the demon in the basement in Evil Dead 3, or Evil Dead 2, excuse me. All the characters' names in this movie were named after actors that previously appeared in the Evil Dead series. You can look that up. There's lots of articles out there that explain whose names they pulled from, and etc. This movie takes place in a building called Monde, M-O-N-D-E, which is an anagram of demon. And this is the only Evil Dead film to not feature the 1973 Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royale vehicle. I looked for it. I watched for it the entire film because I really expected it would just be parked on the street or something, off to the side, because that car is in every movie. And I never saw it, and they're saying it's not there. That's a little disappointing to me. That they couldn't have squeezed it in somewhere on the street or something, There was a couple scenes outside.
Right.
I felt like they could, and even in the parking garage. There was scenes in the parking garage for the building. I felt like they could have put it in there.
I will say, because I was curious about that too, because I was like, hey, why is it not in there? I guess Lee Cronin just decided he just didn't want to put it in there, but he did model the colored scheme of the chainsaw at the end to match the old. Yeah. The old Oldsmobile.
Yeah, I did notice that with the chainsaw. I kind of thought, I wonder if that was intentional. And I thought it has to be intentional. I mean, everything's intentional in the movies nowadays. But so yeah, there was that. I get it. I still felt like they could have slipped it in there, and it would have, been kind of inconspicuous, but just there. But whatever. It is what it is. But so be it. So let's talk this movie. Ike, why don't you go ahead and kick us off and tell us what you thought about Evil Dead Rise.
Absolutely. So let me preface this by saying that I absolutely loved it. Evil Dead Rise, in a lot of way, I will say this, it wasn't nearly as scary as I really anticipated it to be. I think that I really hyped myself up to think that this is going to be like the scariest movie on this earth. And don't get me wrong, it still was plenty scary. There was plenty of spookiness in the film, but it wasn't like overtly scary, and it wasn't stupidly scary either. It really differed from a lot of the other source material for the Evil Dead. I will say one thing I really did enjoy about this movie is that they did not hold back a fucking ounce of anything. I mean, they really went all the way. Like, they were killing kids. Like, I mean, they just went balls to the walls, nuts in this movie, and it was great. Honestly, this movie, in my opinion, because it's one of those things that you kind of think about when you watch the original Evil Dead movies is, these are a bunch of, teenagers, young adults in the woods. You know what I mean? That's basically the premise of like the Evil Dead 1, 2, and then the remake, right? Evil Dead 3 is a whole different story, the Army of Darkness. Yeah. But basically the synopsis is they go into the woods and they get fucked up by some demons. So I like that they didn't go with the traditional in the woods angle. Now, obviously, they had that sort of as a cold open. They had sort of that lead in to where you see the people getting killed in the woods.
Yeah, and that shot was great too. That how it was that, I don't even know what you call it, that zoom shot where it's like traveling over that creek. That's very much a nod to the first movie and how it opens. That was very cool. Absolutely.
No, and that's one of those things too, is that Lee Cronin did keep is that demon POV where it's like zooming through the woods and stuff. And but yeah, I mean, I think this movie definitely differed from the other movies because it didn't stick to that, I don't want to say it's tired, but it is a little tired. That's tired, trope of the Evil Dead franchise of we got to go in the woods, we got to kill some people in the woods. So I'm glad that they didn't do that. They did it in a much more modern setting, and honestly, I think it made it scarier because it made sense, right? An earthquake happened, it destroyed the stairs, they couldn't really get off the floor that they were on, and it was really interesting how they found the book. Now, when I was watching this, something that really stuck out to me is when they were playing the recording. He said 1 of 3 whatever of the Book of the Dead. Basically, there are 3 books of the dead, and
Yeah, they've talked about this when they created it. It ties that all these movies exist,
right.
and just because this is not in the essential time, but the 3, I don't know what you want to call it, the 3, I guess, timelines. Each one is a different book.
Right, and I've actually read an interview where Lee Cronin was talking about how when he was talking to Sam Raimi about this movie, he said, in Army of Darkness, Ash comes upon 3 books. One of the books he is intended to take, 2 of them he is not. So he said, he's like, in my mind, one of those books is Ash's book. One of those books is the one from the 2013 Evil Dead, and one of those books is for his series. And I think that's perfect. Because I've long said that, all of these universes could exist, right? You could take the first Evil Dead movie and you could make that a standalone concept. And, you could then look at the 2013 remake and the Evil Dead Rise, and you could combine all of these universes. And honestly, I have a suspicion that's what Lee Cronin is doing. Because Bruce Campbell has said that he's more than happy to reprise his role. He wants to do it one more time at least of Ash. You know what I mean? He wants to do one more reprising outside of the TV show. He'd like to do a movie. And I think that they could do a very good, more serious Ash Williams within the confines of that, that context. And I think then hopefully the next movie will dive in a little bit more about the 3 books. And then hopefully we'll get that movie that kind of gets all of them. Because I'd love to see Mia come back. She's handless. So is Ash. And you have the 2 people who survived this encounter with the Book of the Dead. So I really think that you could make a pretty good movie. And I told my wife the next movie would be so cool if like they opened it and it's like that girl hovering over the lake and Ash just shoots her in the face. And she just like falls in the water. I think that'd be sick. But yeah, absolutely. I honestly, the way they did this and all of the context, the backstory, all those little Easter eggs, they're screaming "Dead by Dawn," which is obviously a callback to Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. I mean, and it's just so good. And like, also another thing, sorry, I just had to remember this. I realized that all of the books have different demons, right? So in the original, there's one demon. And then the Mia, that demon's called like the Abomination or something like that. And then the one from this one is called the Marauder. So sorry, I've rambled a bunch. I loved it. I'm super stoked about the future of this franchise because I see very promising opportunities. But Dave, what did you think?
I loved it as well. I really, really did. And I went into it anticipating that I would like it, right? I was really hoping that, but you never know, right? You never know how's this going to work. How are they going to pull this off? When there's no Ash. How's this going to, what are they going to do? Right. And this movie had everything I like in a horror movie. I loved being in the apartment. I loved it being cut off because it made it very claustrophobic. We've talked about that before, right? When you close that space, it adds a level to the terror, right? And this movie had one of the most incredible sequences visually that I have ever seen when they shot that scene through the peephole of the door.
Yeah.
And you could see the people running by and hear the things, and then it was masterful. The peephole, that was incredible. I loved it. I loved how they played on human emotions, and everybody acted it so well. And it was suspenseful and it was scary. And I sat there and I had heard things about, well, this movie it's gory, right? It's got gore. And I watched, I don't know, whatever, like 2/3 of it. I thought, I don't know, I'm not seeing a whole lot of gore. Not what I expected, And then came the 3rd act, and I was like, holy shit. Then it just went, they went to town in the 3rd act. But to me, it never got too far, right? It never got to the point of just being where you roll your eyes like, It, I mean, again, we've given the spoiler warning, so hopefully people have abided by it. But they feed the thing through a wood chipper and this and that, and so there's plenty, right? And but there was some of those scenes which it pulls what it should, and it makes you cringe. I still, even though I knew it was coming and I saw it in the trailer, the cheese grater part made me cringe. I was like, man, that just because everybody has grated cheese or grated something and accidentally got the finger a little bit. It's like, imagine what that's like full bore, and it's frightening. This thing, Alyssa Sutherland was amazing. She was absolutely incredible, and her facials and everything she did. Obviously, right, there were some things that had to been enhanced, right? There had to be some things that trickery with the computer and blah blah blah. There was parts that was all the acting, and man, she nailed it. And it was you could just tell people they were having fun making this movie. That everybody was into it, everybody was enjoying it, and you can tell when the passion comes through in this, right? And you can tell from everybody from Lee Cronin down had the passion and wanted to do right by the franchise and wanted to do right with the movie. And I loved it. It's a movie that I'm dying to see again. I really, really am. I'm already ready to rewatch it. So I cannot wait. I don't know whether I'll go to the theater again because there's other things I want to see, but I can't wait for it to come to streaming because I want to immediately watch it again. And it was so respectful of the other movies. There were so many tips of the hat, to the other movies, and things like that. But yet they also carved their own path with it too, and it's great. And it was fun. It was scary. It was suspenseful. There were parts that made you jump. There was parts that made you cringe. There were parts that made you want to shed a tear. I mean, you can relate. There was something in there I think that everybody can relate to as a person because families are they're unique. They're weird, right? And no family is the same. No family's black and white. And some of the things going on with this family with dad being gone and this mom trying to do her best and then with these kids and clearly her world is these kids and she's doing everything she can for it. And then they have the pressure that their building's getting sold and they have to move. And then there's the deal with her relationship with her sister. And then there's the deal with her sister being pregnant. And there's just so many layers of this. Man, that's life, right? Life, There's layers. And then just when you think there's all these layers and all these things going on, well, hell, there's a fucking demon book that comes out and just puts more shit on top. Stuff happens. But it was great. And I liked how, because I watched the movie and I thought, how are they going to pull the book into this? How's this going to happen? And I liked how they did it. Right. It was cool. It was clever. It made sense. I mean, that's kids that age or that's what they're curious. They see shit like that. They're like, oh, hell, what's that? And that's what happens, and they tied it in with the kid being a kind of a, whatever you want to call it, a DJ or whatever, being into music and vinyl. And obviously he saw vinyl and he was going to grab it and he was going to play it and see what was on it. And it's pretty cool. I love the movie. It was great. It was a fun movie to watch.
Absolutely. And sorry, you said something that reminded me. I wanted to say this. But some of like you said, the main actress, you said, I think her name is Alyssa Sutherland. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
So first and foremost, like you said, she did a fantastic job. She really sold those lines. And one of there are a few things that she did that really was like, oh my God, that's so good. One is when she gets possessed by the demon, right? And she's like making the eggs, and like she just like very like nonchalantly delivers I just want to cut you open and crawl inside of you, and we can be a family forever. Well, first of all, that foreshadows the end of the movie. For the like that is absolute abomination at the end. But also like the way she delivered it, it's spine chilling. But also when she's trying to resist it and she vomits up all that like white liquid and she begs her sister, she's like, please don't let it take my babies. And like it's just chilling because like she knows what's happening. And like it's just like that moment of cold, hard realization. And when she comes back alive because they think she died and she's in the bathroom, and one of like the absolute just literally gave me goosebumps is like, I obviously I can't do the voice, but she's like, mommy's with the maggots now.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my God. Like every time, like I remember last night we watched the movie and we came home and I looked it up on YouTube because it's in the trailer with the mommy's with the maggots now. And it's just like, whoever came up with these lines, like these are just like, honestly, it's iconic, but it's just like, one of the things that's kind of pioneered with like the Evil Dead movies is just the most like brutal shit that the demon says, right? Because the demon's trying to get in, you know what I mean? And the demon will say anything. It will do anything. It will in the original Evil Dead, it acts like it's, letting out the real person just to draw you in so that way it can immediately turn on you. And like all the movies are like that because the movies will try and play on like that sympathy of the human emotion. But this movie even takes it a step further with a fucking child, like an actual child, like a little girl. And she's like, oh, daddy came back and, we're in love again. We're gonna stay together. Just let us in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, could you imagine from the perspective of that child who's like so confused by their mom being hurt and their family being hurt and like seeing all this traumatic shit, and then like she's like, oh, nothing that a little hug and a kiss from you won't fix.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, it's just so chilling, but it's so good.
Yeah. And you brought it up because I was gonna say, and I forgot until you brought it up. There were 3 lines in this movie that I just thought I literally, it's like I popped in the theater for them for 3 lines,
Yeah.
and one of them was the mommies with the maggots. Now, that was great. And then there was a line where she says, "Come here, you titty sucking parasites."
Yes.
And I thought, holy shit, that is so fucking evil.
Yep.
And maybe there's only 2 because I can't remember what a third. I was thinking there was a third line. Maybe it'll come to me. But those 2, I was like, damn, those are. Oh, I know what it was. It was the little girl when she looks at her aunt. I think it's late in the movie, and she tells her, she says, "You're going to be a good mommy someday because you know how to lie to kids."
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, that's so brutally honest from a child, and that's great. It was so. Oh, but those 3 lines when they came up in the movie, it made me chuckle right there in the theater. I thought those were great, and that's the thing. None of the dialogue and lines, it didn't seem fake or forced. Even,
No.
I mean, those things. I mean, when you take them out of the context, okay, yeah, does it sound weird? Yeah, it sounds weird. But when you're talking about a demon saying them and the way they said them in the context of what's happening, no, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect in that. So.
Yeah, the other one I just remember this was the little girl made that weapon. It was Staphany.
Yeah, Stephanie.
Oh my god, I audibly laughed when she said that. I was like, bro, who comes up with this shit? Like, it's so funny, it's so good because this movie still had humor, right? Like,
Yeah.
it was kind of lighthearted at first because like it kind of introduces you to the family, so it's like lighthearted humor. But then eventually it gets into like that kind of like fucked up humor because like when she said like nothing a big old kiss and hug from you wouldn't fix, I laughed because I'm like, Jesus Christ, like what the hell, you know? And like same thing when she said, now get over here, you titty sucking parasites,
Yeah.
like you have to laugh because you're like, oh my god, like a demon would say that.
Yeah. It was great. It was, like I said, it was. I know when I talk about movies, I always say fun, and that's what it's about for me, right? Did I
Right.
enjoy the movie? Did I have fun watching the movie? Because that's what it is. It's entertainment, and this I wholeheartedly did. I had a whole lot of fun. I don't. Do I think it's a perfect movie? No, because it's still. I don't. It didn't break ground, right? It didn't break anything new because a lot of this was established through the Evil Dead franchise and in other movies
Right.
and things, but it put it all together and mixed it up. It came up with a dish that was a different take on it. That I know it's hard to describe. It's still relevant to the franchise, but
Yeah.
yet you don't feel like you're just watching a retread of the old stories.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
Or no, I was just gonna say, if I had to tell you though, I'll be honest. I think I enjoyed this kind of remake reboot a little bit more than the 2013 one, just because of like how hard Lee Cronin tried to make it relevant to the rest of the series. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I felt like he genuinely wanted this because I can kind of see it a little bit. Obviously, I'm not a Lee Cronin mind reader, but you know. I can kind of see where he's going with this because I can definitely see that he has a long-term plan. I think that he's kind of going, treading off the tails of like the Halloween, and the Scream success that they've had. And I
Yeah.
definitely feel that he can make more movies, and I feel confident that he's gonna. Honestly, if I had to give anybody like what I think is gonna happen, I think they're gonna definitely tie in these other movies in a more physical way, and it's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be fucking great. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I do. I think. Yeah, I think this is the Evil Dead, requel approach. And
Yeah.
while while we watch this one, we don't have those legacy characters or whatever. I think because they're thinking beyond the one movie, and I think you will see that. I mean, there's so much stuff to tie in, whether it be from the other movies, whether it be from the series. I mean, look at these characters in the series, the Ash versus Evil Dead, that they can bring in and stuff. So I do. I think it'll all come together. I think they're going to bring it all to one thing and unite it. But even if they don't, right? Even just taking this movie for what it is on its own, it is a fun horror movie.
Oh yeah.
And you really, honestly, you don't need to have seen any of the other Evil Dead movies or know anything about them to enjoy this movie. You can enjoy it on its own. Now, obviously, if you've seen the others, it adds to it a little more. But this movie, it's good enough independent on its own.
Absolutely.
You can watch it irrelevant of any of the other movies, in my opinion, and you could still enjoy it because it tells the story of what it's doing. But like I said, if you've watched the others, you could see these nods and these hints and the ties back and different things that just add another layer to it. But what a fun movie!
Yes.
What a fun movie. So let's rate this thing, Ike. Like I said, I fully enjoyed it. I loved it. It had pretty much everything I like to see in a horror movie. But I can't go as far to say that it's a perfect movie. Again, but to me, I'm going to give this thing a 4 screams out of 5.
Absolutely. I was talking to my wife and we were trying to say, where does this fall? And my wife said because now that she knows that I do this podcast and everything else, and she's been on the podcast, she also uses the scream rating. Like anytime we see a movie, she's always like, I'd give that so many screams out of 5. And she said, she's like, when we walked out of the theater, she's like, I would give that a 4 screams out of 5. And I got to agree with her. This was a 4 screams movie. If you think about the movies we've given a 4 screams before, Terrifier 2, Skinamarink, this is obviously a different movie than both of those movies to some respect, but it's such a good movie. And I love the Evil Dead franchise. Lee Cronin did such a fantastic job. Everybody in this movie did such a fantastic job. Like you said, it's by no means a perfect movie because there's always room for improvement. I've yet to see a perfect movie, and when we get that perfect movie, I'll give it a 5. But until then, absolutely, 4 out of 5. Evil Dead Rise, would 100% watch it again. Can't wait for it to come on digital. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I have to say, if we're looking thus far in 2023, I mean, there's been some good movies that have been out there so far, and here, like I said, we're only in towards pretty much through April. I've got to say, if I'm just right at the top of my head, so far this is my favorite horror movie of the year thus far.
I think so.
And I mean that can change, so. and who knows as the year goes on. I mean, don't hold me to that for when we do the review because I mean, like I said, we've had some good movies. We've had Megan, we've had Knock at the Cabin, we've had what else? Cocaine Bear was fun, and what else? I mean. I'm sure there's something I'm not thinking of, but who would have thought in a year with a Scream movie? I really, but I was, like I said, I was a little disappointed with that one and not so much with this. And, but as I stand right now, as if I had to, at this moment, make a pick, Evil Dead Rise thus far is my favorite horror movie of the year. And we'll see what happens with the rest of the year and how my feelings develop and with what else comes out this year and everything else. Cause we still got some heavy hitters to come this year and some fun movies.
I have a feeling that Evil Dead Rise, because it is my favorite as well so far, but I do have a feeling Evil Dead will be dethroned, probably by either the Conjuring movie or probably Insidious, if I had to say.
See, I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say Saw 10.
I forgot about Saw 10. Shit, yeah. Maybe Saw 10.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We've still got some heavy hitters to go through the year. So who knows? But I mean, so far, first quarter here, or whatever. I guess we're out of the first quarter. But anyway,
first
if you know what I mean. Yeah, whatever. First trimester. That sounds weird. But so far through pretty much the end of April, I think it's my favorite so far. And we do still have the Pope's Exorcist that we're doing next week, which is another new movie. So we'll see. And I don't know. But again, like we've said millions of times, we beat that dead horse. 2022 was so good for horror movies, and man, 2023 it's shaping up to be good too. It's just so far. I mean, 4 months into the year, and there's been some really, really good movies so far.
Absolutely, I would 100% agree.
So there you have it. We're big fans. We like Evil Dead Rise. Fun movie. We gave it 4 out of 5 screams. Go out to theaters and watch this sucker. And let's keep it strong in the box office that we can be insured that we're going to get future Evil Dead movies. So, Ike, before we close and get out of here, anything else you want to say?
Mommy's with the maggots now.
Is that what it is? We've had lines that were reoccurring, gobble gobble motherfucker, and there's been some others over the course of this podcast, and now it's Mommy's with the maggots. And
man, the other one that stuck with me was like all of humanity has been judged or something like that.
I'm telling you, I'm sure there's going to be one if there's not already. I need an Evil Dead Rise shirt with that quote on it. That's Mommy's with the maggots. That would be great.
Same.
So that would be fun. But again, next episode, we're going to be reviewing the movie that is still in the theaters as well, The Pope's Exorcist. I'm super excited to go see that. So if you want to follow along in our review, go check that out in theaters if you haven't already. But until that episode, make sure you subscribe to us, rate, review, and follow us on all the social media platforms that we mentioned earlier. It's pretty much all the social media platforms. We're out there all over the place. But until next week, I am Dave, that is Ike, and wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and have many pleasant nightmares.